Good morning. I'm recording this on a Friday. I'm on my way to go and get some sweet treats for the team because they've worked really, really hard the last few weeks, and I think everyone deserves a good Friday treat. And we're also going to be publishing this as we're coming back from a trip that I'm about to make with Michael. More on that later in the video. So I figured it was time for us to do another update video where we give you some responses to commonly heard feedback in the comment section. And I know that we haven't done one of these videos for a while. We want to do one every month, give or take. But the last couple of weeks, in fact, the last couple of months, have been super, super busy, and we just haven't been able to fit anything in. So I'm going to do one now because we've got some really important news to give you. We're going to talk about everything electric, which is coming up in 3 weeks as I am recording this. It's going to be about 2.5 weeks by the time you watch this. I'm going to give you some updates on Patreon, which is super, super important. And I'm going to give you an update on the comment situation and some of the nasty stuff that's been going on there and why we have now re-enabled comments completely. I want to start by, I guess, apologizing for why we haven't made this video sooner. And the answer is that this year has been really quite tough on the channel. Aside from dealing with increased levels of comment spam and hate and trying to find new revenue streams to make sure everybody can keep getting paid, we've also had team on and off work for large swathes of the year. Kate has been off quite a bit this year. She had some personal time off for medical reasons, and then she's been on holiday, which is why you haven't seen her as much on camera. I got someone reaching out the other day before her latest videos going, has Kate left? Like, no, Kate is still with the channel. She's still making content. She is still awesome. It's just that she's been off and she doesn't work full time anyway. You might not know this, but she only works Monday and Tuesday. We can't afford to have her full time. We would both love for her to work full time. I would like for her to work full time. Kate would like to work more for the channel. I don't think she wants to work full time because Kate enjoys having a little flexibility in her schedule. But it's difficult for her to produce the same amount of content that I produce because she's only at work 2 days a week. And because Erin does all of the thumbnails and stuff, we have to sometimes coordinate it so that if a thumbnail isn't ready by the time Kate clocks off at the end of her allotted hours for the week, then that video has to wait until the following week before it can be published, which is sometimes frustrating for everybody, but that's just the way it is. And Erin has been absolutely working her socks off because she's been preparing for everything electric. So because of all of that, and because of everything else going on in the background, and because of everything that we have been doing as a team outside of making videos, we haven't had chance to make one of these. We haven't had chance to do update videos on a lot of projects that we really want to do. And that has been frustrating for all of us. So know that we're hopefully going to be fixing that at some point in the future. But that does depend on continued support from people who support us financially, people who share our content. And it also requires that nobody gets sick and we don't have anybody taking time off. And we've had all of that this year. So just bear with us. All right, let's talk about everything electric, which is coming up in 3 weeks at the time I'm filming this. It'll be 2.5 weeks by the time you watch it. It's in Vancouver, BC, Canada, the first weekend of September. It is going to be a fantastic show. I will be in attendance, Kate will be in attendance, Michael will be in attendance, and Erin will be in attendance. And if you're very lucky, you might spy my beloved, my wife, who is also a Kate, different Kate. She will be there for a couple of days just in the background helping out. Kate is not someone who enjoys being on camera, so be kind if you bump into her and say hi. But generally, we'll all be there, and it's really exciting. We've got a booth, thanks to one of you amazing people. We have signs being made, so we'll have a proper set on stage. Thanks to our Patreon supporters, we're going to have better microphones this year on the stand. We're going to be producing a lot of content. We've got some great interviews lined up. I learned a long time ago not to tell you what interviews are going to be happening, because inevitably someone will drop out, usually through no fault of their own or our fault, and then we end up disappointing everybody. So just know that there's going to be a whole load of great videos coming out of that event. Then Kate Walton Elliott and I are both going to be hosting panels on stage. We're both going to be doing 2 panels each. We're both going to be doing panels split between the Giga Theatre and the Mega Theatre, which are on different levels of the exhibition centre. And we're doing those hosting sessions. All of them are going to be on the Saturday afternoon. They've kind of blocked us all together. Please be mindful that if you see myself or Kate at the show and you say hi, we love meeting people and saying hi and hearing about your thoughts for the show and what you like and constructive feedback and all of that good stuff. But if we look a little distracted and we're dashing around, please don't take it that we are being rude to you. We just probably have to be somewhere. I've looked at the schedule for our first day. I think we have 4 interview slots left on that day. We have 1 interview slot left on the Saturday. Saturday is shaping up to be our busiest day. And then Sunday, we've got a pretty busy schedule too. In addition to all of that, we're going to be moving around the convention space. We might be filming off our stand. We're going to do most of our filming on stand because it's easier for audio and video preparation, because then we have consistency. But we will be filming on the show floor. So again, if you bump into us and we are filming, be mindful that we might not say hello. And we're not being rude. We're just going to be focused on doing something else. I am a neurospicy person, as is the rest of the team. We don't always pick up on subtle clues that someone wants to talk to us. So please be patient. Also, at Everything Electric, we are going to be holding meet and greet sessions. Rather than hang around the booth and have people come up and talk to us throughout the show, we're going to try and set aside specific time slots where people will come and say hello, where we will both be available. And obviously there will be other people there as well, so the time that we may have for each person might be limited, but know that that's what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and set up a time where, okay, if I come to the booth at this point, both Nikki and Kate should be on the stand so we can meet them and say hello. We're going to try that for the first time this year. It's something that I've taken from FurCons, and it's proven very popular there. Obviously at a FurCon, if I'm going down onto the show floor as a character, whether it's Queenie or Chimmy or one of my other characters, I will set a time where I tell people, hey, this fursuit will be around and interacting with people. It makes it easier for me because I can pace myself. It makes it easier for people who want to come and meet that character because that character is there. And at Everything Electric, while I'm not going to be playing a character, I hope that the me you see at Everything Electric is the me that you would see if you were sitting next to me in this car right now. It also means that we have a dedicated space for people to come up and say hi. And that means that if someone comes to the booth and we're busy doing something like interviewing someone or we're dashing to a panel, we can then turn around and say, hi, I'd love to speak to you, but come to the booth later at this slot. This is when we're going to have availability. We're going to have a timetable. We'll publish it somewhere online. We'll also put it on our stand so you know where we're going to be and what we're going to be doing. Finally, we will have potentially something for Patreon supporters. Some Patreon supporters have asked, can we take you out for dinner? Can we do something? And unfortunately, due to the world we live in, due to some of the threats that have been made against team members this year, we are going to try to not have individual meetups for everyone's safety. What we are going to try and do is to do a Patreon get together if there are enough people who are going to be there and able to come. Now, we have over, I think, 1,500 Patreon supporters right now, and many more people who support us in other ways. But we cannot hold a Patreon meetup if we don't have firm numbers. We've asked our Patreon supporters. If you are a Patreon supporter, you should have been asked a poll. Are you coming? Would you like to do something? At the moment, we've only got a couple of hand raisers. So I picked up the donuts, and I've told you in the first part of the video why we haven't made one of these. I've talked about everything electric. What I haven't talked about is how you can help the channel by buying tickets to everything electric by using our discount code Transport Evolved. And by the way, if you've noticed, there's a bit of a gap between me picking up donuts and then coming back. I got sugar on my hand from the donut that the donut guy gave me, and then I did this at some point and ended up with sugar on my nose. So I've just realized I've just cleaned the sugar off, and now I'm just gonna run through the rest of the video. So everything electric, if you buy tickets, if you go to the link and you use the code Transport Evolved at checkout, you will get 20% off your everything electric tickets. And then Transport Evolved will get 80% of the proceeds of those tickets sold. So you'll be helping us out and help us afford to go to the event. Going to the event does have hidden costs. I mean, we have to buy our own accommodation. If we'd have stayed in a hotel for the 4 days that we're in Canada, it would have cost us about $1,000 to $2,000 per person. We found an Airbnb for about $2,500 US. So we've saved money, but we still have to pay for it. And proceeds from the event will help us to be able to afford that. All right, that out of the way, let's talk about YouTube and the comments, and then I'm going to talk about Patreon at the end. Patreon's really important. You'll notice that we turned comments back on. We turned comments back on because despite YouTube telling us that turning off comments wouldn't impact our ad revenue, it did. It impacted our ad revenue in such a bad way that it was starting to look like we wouldn't be able to continue the channel. So what we decided was we'd try a little experiment. I turned the comments back on for 3 or 4 videos, and almost immediately the view counts came back and the revenue came back. We did some more experiments, and what we've learned is that if we moderate the comments in any way, shape or form, Google's AI algorithm punishes us. Our videos don't get recommended as much and we don't make as much money. If we keep the comments open and we allow anyone to post anything, that's when we make the most money. When we allow people to abuse us, we make the most money. It sucks. In an ideal world, I would love to keep the comments off, but we do not make enough money from Patreon alone to cover the bills. I haven't been able to give the team at the channel a pay rise for a couple of years. We do cover everyone's healthcare costs, but I would love to be able to give the team a pay rise next January. The only way we're going to be able to do that is if we can increase our revenue. And the value of our Patreon support, while amazing monetarily, the donation amounts that the tiers that we have haven't changed since we started. So when we started in 2015 with Patreon, we had the $1 to $5, $25, $50 and $100 a month tiers. I think there were some others. And we still have those tiers, but $5 in 2015 got you a lot more than $5 today. So, but I'm going into Patreon, and I want to just drag back into Google and YouTube. If you want to comment on our videos, please do on YouTube, but know that you will open yourself up to trolls and hate. All of the homophobia, transphobia, and other isms that are the worst parts of the internet are now on YouTube, just like they are on X, which is why we're not on X. The difference between X and YouTube is that we are actually able to make a difference on YouTube and able to make money. So that's why we're there. There's no other YouTube like platform right now that allows us to monetize like YouTube does. And the other thing I want to throw in is that YouTube is now putting adverts in videos, even if you say don't, and keeping the profits. So you will notice that YouTube has increased the number of ads in our videos. A lot of people complain about the number of ads in our videos. That's Google, not us. We can choose to reduce the number of ads, but then we dramatically impact our ad revenue because the amount of money paid for each ad is a lot less today than it was a couple of years ago. So how can you help? Well, support the channel if you can financially, watch all of our videos, share. Don't have our videos on repeat on a play bot, because Google will punish the channel owner if it thinks people are watching their videos on an ad bot. Even if it's not the creator's bot, right? They will still punish you. So if you want to support us, share and interact with, share the videos and interact with us. There are plenty of other social media outlets that you can reach us on. We are on Mastodon, we are on Facebook, as much as we hate it. And you can also reach out to us on Discord. Discord is the most vibrant community for discussion of our videos. The Discord link is in the description. If you click on that link, you need to go through the verification room in order to see all of the other rooms that exist. If you don't do it, you'll just see a say hello to be verified and nothing will happen. So bear in mind that that's a hoop you have to go through. That's how we keep spam bots and nasty people out of that room. It's also worth noting that you can join Discord for free. You don't have to be a Patreon supporter. However, if you are a Patreon supporter, you have a special room and you can come and talk to us there. The other thing that I want to talk about, the final thing I want to talk about, is Patreon. Patreon's been in the headlines a lot this year because of changing policies and the way that they treat creators and all of that. And starting in November, if you are an Apple device user and you use the Apple Store and you buy a Patreon membership for a creator using an iOS device, starting November, Apple will start to take a 30% cut of all sales through Patreon. Now, I know a lot of people look at that and go, well, it's a donation. It's not a sale. Under most law, it counts as a sale because you are buying a digital good or service, basically the videos that we make. And while all of our videos are free to consume and you're effectively optionally offering money for them, it's still classed as a digital good or service. That means that most countries will tax your donation, and most countries and regions will treat that as a digital sale. The reason we use Patreon, it goes all the way back to the VATMOS regulations in Europe from like a decade ago, which would have required us to keep 2 records for every person who supported us financially, proving where they lived, what their address was. We would have had to have collected a lot of data on you personally, which would have made me and the rest of the team liable for stuff. But then we would have had to have spent months filling out tax paperwork, month after month after month, or quarter after quarter after quarter, and then paying the government of the country that you live in your relevant taxes. Patreon does all of that for me, which is why it's easier for us. But in November, Apple is going to start taking 30% cut of all sales on Patreon. So if you donate $1 a month to us on Patreon, of that dollar, Apple will take 30%. Patreon will take a little tiny sliver of that. Your local government, whether it's regional or national government, will take appropriate sales tax, and I'll get the rest, which is cents in the dollar rather than the whole dollar. Are there better options? Are there better solutions? Unfortunately, right now, no. But there is a workaround. So I made it back home and I'm not quite finished. So let's talk about the important thing here, which is the workaround for this particularly nasty thing with Apple. And yes, I do use Apple products and I'm considering switching, certainly for my phone And I'm, like I said earlier, I'm wearing a Xenia t-shirt. If you know, you know. But for editing video and stuff like that, although we've tried working on Linux before, it's just not stable enough. There's no stable platforms that allow us to do what we do as quickly as we do it that aren't based on Windows or Mac. And each platform has their own problems. So for now, while I hate doing it, I'm probably going to continue to use Apple products, but I'm definitely not going to do subscription for Patreon through Apple iOS, and nor should you. So here's what you need to do. If you have subscribed to Patreon, you've subscribed to a tier, or you're paying a tier on Patreon, and you used your Apple iOS device to start that off, you need to cancel your subscription. Tell me why you're cancelling it in the little box that says why I'm cancelling. And then go to your computer and sign in on a web browser. Sign into Patreon on a web browser, and then you can reinitiate the subscription from there. That way, Apple doesn't take 30% of your donation. If you keep it going through iOS, it will give you 30%. It will take 30% of your donation. And I have a tough decision to make in the next couple of weeks, which is I have to choose. Patreon, I think, is going to give me the choice. I either have to get a pay cut, in which case 30% of our income potentially could disappear and go to Apple. Or, I've still got sugar on my finger. Whoops. Or we have to start charging all of our Patreon supporters more to get that same base amount. And I know that's going to cause problems too. So the workaround is really important. And if you want to keep supporting the channel on Patreon, that's the way to do it. Go to sign out of your iOS or cancel your iOS subscription. Go to a web browser, sign in there, start your subscription there. Then you can use the iOS app for Patreon, because your subscription is being processed through a different means. I'm sorry that that is happening. I have no control over it. I hate it. In an ideal world, I wouldn't have to worry about getting paid. In an ideal world, everybody who works at Transport Evolved would get all of their meals paid for, all of their food, their expenses. It would just magically appear, and we'd be able to make content we like making and enjoy making. I love my team. They are amazing. They are such a wonderful, creative group of people. They are so talented. And we wouldn't exist without that team. And we also wouldn't exist without your support. So thank you if you do support. I'm sorry Patreon is doing this, or rather that Apple is doing this to Patreon. Patreon has done some weird stuff this year too. We are looking for alternatives right now. There aren't any viable ones that scale well, that offer what we need. Although I'm starting to identify a few that might work. And if you are based in the US and you wish to donate to us directly, you can send us a check every month. There are a couple of people who do that. That goes through our accounting system just as it would any other way. PayPal is not a great way of sending us money. You can't walk up to me at Everything Electric and give me money. I will turn around and give it right back to you. That puts me in a whole load of hurt with the Canadian authorities. It would put me in a whole world of hurt with the US people, with the tax and whatnot. And we do everything above board because at the end of the day, this is a full-time job. I earn money, I am supported by you all, and I should pay my way, unlike certain presidential candidates. Anyway, I'm going to take those donuts inside for the rest of the team, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for joining me today, and if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them below in our Discord chat room, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are some of more than the 1,500 people who help fund this channel through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and making sure that we can remain 100% independent. And if you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. There are a range of different tiers you can sign up for, from as little as $1 a month, or if you pay yearly, just under $11 a year. A huge welcome to our newest supporters: Olke Ward, John Le Pouvoir, World's Tallest Hobbit, John Hendricks, John Franks, Bill Lascelle, Bill Warren, Brian Curry, Amory Wong, Chris Foon, Stephen Tidy, Christian H, Mike Cooper, Casey Chapin, James Carter, Sam Yates, Kai Preshaw, Michael Ball, John Dunlop, Christian Ramusen, Matt Bullock, Karen and Jude, Mike Whirl, and Daniel. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your moment of fame. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have an old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at. Address also below. And if you're in need of some swag, you'll find our swag store in the down below too. This month we've got a new special t-shirt just for our trip to Everything Electric in Canada next month. There's still just enough time to buy one before the event, and if you wear it to the show, you might get a special something from us. We've got some great content coming up, so make sure you're subscribed on PeerTube or YouTube, and we'll see you soon. We make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you want more, the mighty algorithm thinks you'll like this video, but we think that this one is also well worth a look. See you soon, and as always, keep evolving!